what's right. Fight for your life.
Well, hello and welcome to a very special episode of Celluloid Zeroes. Remember when TV shows had those very special episodes? You know, you might have a disclaimer in the beginning. You know, Family Ties did one where Alex's friend was in a car accident. Anyway, this is a very special episode of Celluloid Zeroes where we're not going to talk about one movie in particular. Instead, we are going to just memorialize Hulk Hogan, who meant something to the three of the people that you see on the screen right now. And my panel today includes my twin brother Jimmy. Say hi, Jimmy.
Hi, everybody.
And of course, Rob Salminen, a dear friend of ours from high school. We took over his paper route, and then we became very close friends. I think he still did the route with us, but he wasn't getting paid for it.
Yeah, I think I was just kind of hanging out with you guys. It was more fun. There was no responsibility.
Yeah.
Just get to hang out with you guys.
Well, those are good days. We're going to take a nice walk down memory lane this morning, and I'm curious. First question is, where were you? Do you remember where you were when you first became aware of Hulk Hogan and Hulkamania? Rob, I'll have you tackle that one first.
Oh, it had to be with you guys. In middle school, when we were living in Stanford across from you guys, I mean, I don't recall the exact moment, but I remember being captivated by the wrestling, the professional wrestling. And then there was Hulk Hogan, who just dominated the stage. I mean, he was the king of it all. He was the marketing and the face behind it. And I remember us, was it Saturday mornings, guys? Like we would watch it in your living room, and just, he was like in your brains right now. Picture just he's bigger than life physically. And they do Mean Gene's doing these interviews with him, and it's just, he was a phenomenon. You couldn't turn away. It was like looking at the sun. You couldn't turn away from it. It was captivating. Once you saw him one time, that's it. You were hooked, man.
Wait, Jim, what was it about Hulk Hogan that really captured your attention and imagination?
Well, just hearkening back to your first question, Mike, I first became aware of him actually outside of wrestling in the movies when he portrayed a character in Rocky III. Obviously, we were huge Stallone fans. So that was pre-Hulkamania. Thunderlips. So Robbie will remember, that's pre-Hulkamania. That's before he won the title in 1984, I think, from the Iron Sheik. So he was just a up-and-comer, part of Vince McMahon Sr.'s crew. It may not even been in the WWF at that point. I don't really know, but that's the first time I saw him on screen, like 3 or 4 inches taller than he was, I think, at the time of his passing, because of all those damn back surgeries that he had. But that's the first time I became aware of him, and then didn't really become an avid watcher of wrestling, Mike, until we moved from Florida to Connecticut and became close with Nick, our buddy who's not on the podcast today, but he was a mega wrestling fan, and we'd stay over his house, and then like Saturday mornings you'd wake up and watch wrestling, and that's how we kind of got into it. So knew about Hogan before I started watching wrestling, actually, because you and I were big Stallone fans.
So what was it? Thunderlips? Was that his name in Rocky III?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was my first memory too. Like I remember him from that movie, and then of course, yeah, you're right. I mean, it was Capiello who got us really interested in the sport of professional wrestling. Which can we just say how ridiculous it is? I mean, it is beyond ridiculous, but it just captured our imaginations and our attention so much. These guys wearing these skimpy little outfits, throwing each other around. I mean, if you look at it on paper, it sounds a little I don't know. It sounds a little childish or
well, it may be childish, Mike, but it's about as ridiculous as circus performers. I mean, those guys are putting themselves at significant risk. I mean, if they fall off the trapeze, they're going to be paralyzed or worse. And it really was no different with professional wrestling, and it all happened within the confines of like a script and a storyline. And back in the day, the white hat and black hat characters, you know. It was entertainment. It was sports entertainment. And in as much as, you know, guys weren't really with closed fists punching each other in the face, they were still hitting each other really hard. They were still throwing each other into, you know, metal objects and things. And the injuries were quite real. You know, these guys were just, it was like a car accident every night that they experienced, you know, and I know we've talked about this. And as much as he was like an invincible character, who always found a way to, you know, to find the energy to overcome his opponent, you know, Hogan was not invincible, obviously. And the toll that this took on his body, I mean, Robbie, you know, he was a physical wreck. Unfortunately, I say that as somebody who had, you know, admired him, and I'm really, really, really sad that he's gone. I really am. But you know, so yes, it was fake, Mike. It was ridiculous, of course. I mean, it was, you know, there's no reality to it necessarily, other than the fact that it was real in terms of the physicality of it.
The fact that, if you really, and we prefaced this before we began recording, Jimmy made a list. The fact that if you really look back at these guys and how many of them die early from drugs or pain meds or just the injuries they sustain. I mean, you go through that list of guys we had from Jimmy Hart all the way to Hogan this week. I mean, you're talking dozens and dozens of guys that were not much older than we are, maybe by 8 or 9 or 10 years, you know, whatever. But if you still see some of the guys that are still alive, they look like, I mean, they look terrible. And, you know, that 80s, and we can goof around it, that 80s, you know, you see, all right, so what did you find more entertaining, the matches or the interviews?
Oh, my God.
No doubt.
I loved the interviews. I mean, they were just, you get Macho Man, you know, doing an interview, and it was pure gold. Pure
With
gold.
Mean Gene?
Oh, with Mean Gene. They had a special kind of chemistry together. They really
Like,
did.
but Mike, it was everything that they did with the legitimacy of the broadcasters, right? I mean, they had the blazers on, you know, that Jim Nance and the boys are wearing on CBS. Like they're wearing, everything looks so official. Okay, but they're just interviewing these guys.
You're talking to a guy with rubber bands on his face.
Oh,
but you're wearing a
I know.
suit and tie.
And the funniest part is we used to do it to each other. Like when we were in middle school, it was okay, you know, and you can't not be swept up in the hugeness of these personae. You can't not get, I mean, they're like the Ultimate Warrior, like Macho Man, like you can't say the words Macho Man and not hear his voice in your head.
But I will say that the timing of everything, you know, the timing of Hogan's ascendancy. I mean, think about where we were. It's 1984. You know, we're at war with the Soviets. We just got through the Iranian hostage crisis, and within that context, what does Hogan do? He comes to Madison Square Garden and he fights the Iron Sheik. All right, like the epitome of evil and underhandedness and everything that's going to attack and undermine America. And Vince McMahon picks this guy who's 30 years old or whatever he was at the time to now become the standard bearer. I mean, you think about how everything aligned for McMahon when he took over his father's business. America's on the ascendancy. You know, Reagan's in the White House. We're fighting the Soviets. We got the Iranians on the run after Reagan gets elected. And now Hogan comes in to the biggest sports venue in the world, and he fights the Iron Sheik, and he wins the heavyweight title. I mean,
With the entrance music, I'm a Real American, you know, and that was a huge statement.
I think you bring up a great point, Jim, because wrestling it's like a mirror of what's going on in the greater culture, and I think McMahon was a genius to really play into that because that really and building that Hogan character as the real American, train, say your prayers, take your vitamins kind of guy. Like he was it was fun to watch. He was also positioned as a role model for us all. Like he did the right thing. He stood up for what's right. I mean, listen to the lyrics of that song, "Fight for the rights of every man."
Yeah.
It's and he was a great performer, like in the ring. Like there is every wrestling match is like a little bit of drama. Rob, you called it earlier. Like it's every match is a little bit like a soap opera. The setup to every match. There's back storylines. And the way Hogan would perform, like he'd be down and out, and then he would climb back up, and then he'd drop the leg, and it's I do find it interesting that he had like the biggest arms in the world, yet he relied on his leg to like win every match. Like, why not use a sleeper hold? It's like anyway. But that was Hogan, and that was us, and it gave us a little optimism in life. It gave us it was fun, but it gave us optimism, and it like really, I don't know, made us feel good about who we were, and I think we could all use that right now. We really could. We could use a taste of that now.
So can you go back though? Like is that a snapshot in American pop culture that, with the internet and influencers and all that other nonsense going on now, like, can you go back to that? I mean, wrestling now, I think, is just blatantly silly. And maybe it's because we've moved on in the river of time and we're older, great. But I don't know if you can go back to, I don't know if the word is innocence. Like, they were caricatures. The British Bulldog, the Bushwhackers, even the Iron Sheik, like they were just ridiculous characters with their own. I mean, Brutus the Barber Beefcake would cut your hair, and like Jake the Snake had that. Remember, he had the bag with the snake.
Yeah.
In. Like they were caricatures of what was going on, and it was innocent. It kind of was in a way. Like it was fun, but it also captivated us.
You were and I'm assuming you still are, Robbie, a big comic book fan. I mean, this was comic books brought to life. So, these guys were portraying, almost like superheroes. Sadly, they were not superheroes; they were human beings. And Michael, you mentioned the vitamins. I mean, I wish Mr. McMahon would have paid a little bit more attention to the vitamins some of these guys were taking, because. Yeah, I think they're all paying for it now. But no, I don't know that you go back. I don't know that you go back, Robbie, because we become such a coarse, cynical culture. I don't know that anyone, this young generation, is going to buy into the same archetypes that were on display back then. People are kind of self-absorbed more so than they ever have been. So I don't know. I don't know that it works today. I don't know that a Hulk Hogan character works today. I think kids are too edgy, and they're a little darker, maybe a little cynical. So I'm not sure that it works. But I hope I'm wrong about that. I don't really know. I'm an old man now, although 20 years away from 71, which is when Hogan died, and I'm not ready to cash it in at 71. And that's the thing. Like part of the grieving process that you have when these guys go, it's not. And we called this, by the way. I don't know if you remember. We did a Celluloid Zeroes with. We did his movie.
No Holds Barred.
No Holds Barred. And we said at the end of that podcast that there's going to come a time, probably in the not too distant future, when you go on television and you see the tributes. You see the passing of Terry Bollea, and here we are. That was 3 or 4 years ago we did that. So part of the grieving process is not just like you're losing a icon from your youth, but it's obviously a reminder that we're all riding this little blue marble for as long as we ride it, and then at some point we stop. I don't know. 71 just seems. I mean, I wanted him around longer. Selfishly, I mean, I know the guy lived in excruciating pain,
Yeah. Back
but I certainly
surgeries.
wasn't ready for that. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
if you go back and you look at the physical aspect of wrestling from the beginning, where it was inevitable that they had to up the dial, right? So it went from like, body slams to coming off the top rope, superfly snooker coming off the top rope, and then it was the metal chairs, and then and it just once you let that genie out of the bottle, I mean, you get guys, death cage matches and all type. I mean, eventually, I think they knew, and McMahon knew somewhere in the recesses of his soul, one of these guys is going to die from this. I mean, it was just the cost of doing business. And I mean, who was it? Bret Hart or his brother that fell from the rafters?
That was the
Owen
brother.
Owen Hart.
You remember that? Yeah.
Owen.
So like, it was inevitable that these guys had a very short tenure. I mean, Hogan was the outlier. He was around for 40 years. But I mean, from Andre to Macho Man, I mean, I think they knew that this was, eventually this profession is going to punch my ticket. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
they
yeah.
knew it.
I mean, Rick Rude died in his 40s. The guy had no body fat on him. I mean, literally just had. He looked like I can't even. For those of people who remember what he looked like, I mean, it was just not a human being can achieve that. Uh,
Well, he was
it
simply
just
ravishing.
Ravishing Rick
yeah,
Rude. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
you think about it, like there are professional golfers who can't play anymore because they've hurt their back swinging a club, right? I think Jim Furyk, maybe. I know Tiger, he had a big car accident, but he had many surgeries because of
Yeah.
all the stress that he's put his body under just by playing golf. These guys are they're breaking chairs over each other's backs. They're being thrown out of a ring. Even the body slam, I know you land on your feet a certain way. A pile driver, the guy's knees hits before your head, but it's still extremely physical. And all of that, Jim, I think you called it right. It's like getting into a car accident every night. I mean, there's a lot of
Sure.
pain that comes with it. And what do you do with the pain? You got to treat it somehow. You get hooked on opiates. You get hooked on painkillers. You probably,
Well, you got to.
you're
I mean,
and you're
tonight
doing
we're
it
playing in
300.
Minnesota, and tomorrow we're going to Detroit, and then 3 days from now we got to be in L.A. And then so the boss didn't want to hear about that you were hurt. Like you got to put on a show. And I think the like you're saying, Mike, I think that the tragedy behind all of it is most of these guys die penniless.
Yeah, I mean, you're not making I mean, unless you're at the top, right? Hogan was making millions. In the 80s, he was making like a couple $1,000,000 a year. But most working guys, they're living night to night.
Yeah.
They're independent contractors. There's no health insurance. There's it's you're probably being paid like a circus performer.
But you can
Yeah,
see,
yeah. Half of them are parking cars
yeah,
someplace.
yeah.
You
Well,
know.
you see, and it hurts my feelings when you see like, oh, you might be driving down the road. Oh, tonight is Roddy Piper at the gymnasium at Turner River Middle School, and you're like, oh my gosh, come on, man! Like he's making $125. Like come on, But
Yeah.
he has to eat. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if these guys didn't have another option or they were failed athletes or whatever it was. I mean, clearly they had the physical discipline to get in that shape. But
Well, some of it is chasing fame too. It may be, and many used wrestling as a way, an entree into getting into, movie work or TV work. And I think there's only been a few that have really made it big. I mean, Hogan tried, but as we mentioned, that first movie, No Holds Barred, was not. I think they wrote it over a weekend. I think I remember like reading that somewhere. Like they wrote that movie over a weekend, and it absolutely shows.
I'm surprised they wrote anything. It's like you watch that. Like, sorry, Hulk, but like you watch that. We did that Celluloid Zero, and to preface it, I watched it like 2 days before, and I struggled. I was like,
It was rough. That was rough. But he also tried. There was a couple of others, right? What were some of the other movies where he was the nanny? He was Suburban Commando or something. I can't.
Suburban,
Right. Right, and then he was a Navy SEAL in Thunder in Paradise, and
Oh
I think he
wow.
had some cameos on Baywatch. I don't be impressed by my recollection here. This has been on the TV, when they go back through his career, but yes, you could compare Hogan to Dwayne Johnson, for example. Okay, if you're going to do that, you're going to be disappointed as a Hogan fan because Johnson has made actually some pretty good movies, and we've said this before. They didn't put Dwayne Johnson in a movie to try to make the movie better, and they wrote a good movie, and they casted Johnson. With Hogan, the movies that he were in were terrible. I mean, Rocky 3 I liked, and Stallone enjoyed working with him, but after Rocky 3, he was in some really, really badly, created and conceived films. I'm not saying that Hogan was a great actor other than what he did, in the wrestling ring. But, hey, he had a long career and he kept making, you know what, Mike, his life was like one of his matches. I mean, he's on top and he's doing well in the beginning, and then something turns. What turns in his life? His wife divorces him. His son, God bless him, gets in a car accident and kills another kid. It's terrible. He's got an estranged relationship with his daughter. He's got a little problem with the love sponge, right? Remember that whole thing with his wife?
Yeah,
So he's suing Gawker. So he has all of these challenges, okay? And, say what you want, but he was able to come back. He was able to, I mean, maybe not what he was, but look at the outpouring. I mean, he wasn't living in squalor. He had a beautiful home in Clearwater. I've never been to Clearwater, but I assume it's a decent spot. And he had a restaurant, Mike, and he had a bunch of kids coming in to buy the merchandise, and he was, so hey, not bad, and kind of like his matches, he was able to overcome it. Now, in the end, sadly, his physical, I mean, he died of a heart attack. It's a shame that he wasn't. I don't know what was going on with his doctors. Were they not monitoring him, or was it just, did he know that his heart was failing and there was really nothing they could do short of some sort of a transplant or something? I mean, we don't really know, and we're never going to really know what happened. But I don't know what I'm really trying to say, Mike. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to express that.
The important thing is that you enjoy hearing yourself talk, Jim, and I think we can all agree that it doesn't really matter what you say at some point. It is tragic, and it is. I think he outlived his life expectancy. As big as he was, as strong, as heavy as he was. I mean, that puts a lot of pressure on the heart. Obviously, the steroids, he admitted to using them. I think we all kind of knew. You don't get that big naturally.
Yeah.
So the juice takes a toll, and also a lot of the emotional stuff going on in his life. It probably took a toll as well. What did you want to say, Robbie?
Well, what we talked about before about how he entered our lives when we were young, the three of us, it was a bonding thing between the three of us. But now we're 50, so here's the question: like, how do you say goodbye to your heroes? I mean, our heroes are dying. Musical heroes, pop culture, wrestling heroes, sports heroes, they're passing. And from Muhammad Ali to Hulk Hogan to whomever you want to put in there, I mean, we're at the age where our childhood icons are passing. And we're going to see the Rolling Stones all pass. Well, maybe not Keith Richards, he'll live forever. But we're going to see the Beatles pass. We're going to see... Yeah. We're going to witness that. And witnessing a hero, and I'm not using that term facetiously, but Hulk Hogan was one of our childhood heroes, guys. We would go and wrestle in your backyard, and we that doesn't happen often where you watch something and then you emulate it. And he was literally larger than life. He was huge, this gigantic persona. And now he's dead. And that, if you really sit and you think about it for a while, introspective, that's a hard thing to swallow, man. You know, when you think someone is immortal and they're not, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I
Jeez, you
guess
brought
you
the
try
downer
to.
guy to the podcast.
Well, it's apropos. I mean,
Yeah.
we're rounding out the week now that that he passed. I don't know, Robbie. I mean, I guess the only thing that I can say is that you try to you have the memories. You can go back and watch, you know, hundreds of matches if you want to, uh, and you just I guess the things that maybe maybe this is the way to think about it. The things that inspired you, the things that you found to be things that you wanted to emulate. Don't let them go. Do the work and try to be the best version of yourself, I suppose, that you can be. Try to be an inspiration if you have children or you have friends that need help or something, and try to be there for them. And when you face a giant in your life, just like he did, don't give up, whatever that giant might be, Mike.
Yes. You know what really bothers me though is obviously he was a polarizing figure, especially he shows up at the Trump the RNC, right? So immediately
Yeah.
half of the population is going to find that to be distasteful. He said some disparaging things about a young man that his daughter was dating, which didn't really look very good for him. But I think he tried to redeem himself from that. But there's a lot of people who are like saying that they're happy that he's gone. Good riddance, and I think
Well,
no matter what side of the political aisle you're on, it's just there was a life that was lost. He had a tremendous impact on culture. He certainly had a tremendous impact on us. And I think there's got to be a little bit of respect for the dead, and that's something that's been bothering me. Things that you read online, and Twitter or X or whatever it's called now is like a cesspool, as is Reddit. There's never anything positive on there. It's just a shame. It's just a shame because there's a legacy there that is being tarnished.
So
Yeah.
if he comes out today, right? So let's say we take Hulk Hogan and we stick him into whatever professional wrestling is now. I haven't watched it in a million years. Is he successful in this internet Reddit age, or is he not? I mean, is he a clown? Like, do the young people think he's ridiculous? Like, I don't know. He was so over the top with the tan and the mustache and everything. Like would he be considered a buffoon now?
Yeah.
By young people. I mean, I teach high school, so like if I see the kids the people that they want to emulate, and Hogan would never be on their radar ever.
Unless he changed his pronouns. Like, 'cause if we had to call him they, them, or she, But I think that the truth is kids, I don't think they want heroes the same way we wanted heroes, like when we were kids. There was a very clear right versus wrong, right? Face, heel. Those lines are blurred now. And I don't think, old man here, but I don't think people want heroes the same way we used to. They like anti-heroes. They like heroes that, have their own problems, they don't want the pure kind of, hey, this is the right thing to do and this is the American way kind of thing.
But Michael can resonate with this because I know that you have to manage people in your business, and Robbie, you're dealing with students all day. I'll tell you one of the things that I find that is very, very typical of this generation, and I'm not dumping on them. In many ways, they're a lot smarter than we ever were. That they're better athletes. I mean, there's a million things that they do better than we ever did. But I will tell you something that I have noticed is that nobody wants to take criticism. If you criticize a young person, whether it be somebody who works for you or with you, in your company, in your firm, in your school, they bristle, they bristle, and I think the reason why the hero thing has fallen by the wayside is because nobody wants to have to aspire to anything. Because if they have to aspire to something, it's an acknowledgement that they're not already there. And everybody wants to be there. Everybody wants to be in the whole Instagram thing where they're driving a Ferrari, Mike. Everyone wants to drive a Ferrari, but nobody wants to do what's necessary. Well, whatever. Nobody wants to do what's necessary to get it. You know, if that's what they feel that they want, if that's what they think is important. So I think that's one of the reasons why heroes have died, is because nobody wants to view themselves as something lesser, something that needs to be improved. Big problem, I think. Big problem.
Yeah, I think COVID ruined a lot of us, and especially not a lot of us, but like the younger generation in that regard, and being able to kind of do their job from home. Now, like in my organization, we have mandatory 5 days back in the office. And yeah, it's not as great as working at home all the time. He's working in air quotes.
Yeah, you gotta wear pants now, right? It's like, oh, jeez.
You've got to go. You got to interact with other people. You know, you have to be professional. I work at a really big bank. You know, it's like you have to be professional. And I've had to have those conversations, Jim, with people. You know, somebody was getting in trouble because they had not met their in-office expectation. And you know, they got dinged for that in a performance. They almost got fired because they weren't hitting it. They've been warned multiple times. And during this person's performance review, you know, I gave her a you know, not a perfect rating. And they were like, well, what do I have to do to get a perfect rating? And I'm like, well, you could start by coming into the office.
Yes.
You know, but they don't want to hear that. Like,
I mean,
is it really mandatory? I'm like, here's the thing. You work for a company. They have a rule. The rule is to come into the office. Yes, I know that you may not like that. You still have to come. You know? But that generation is so entitled. And, you know, I don't know how we got on this topic, but...
Well, it goes back to what, I mean, it really, what I see, that's why I don't coach anymore. I stopped coaching last year. I can't do it because the parents are just all, when you tell them, listen, your lacrosse player is not great. That's why they're not putting the work in. That's why they're on the bench. And I'd had enough. I mean, and kids, when you're telling a kid, listen, you got to put the work in, you got to work on this, and they get all upset about it, and they go on Twitter and enough. I had enough of it, and
Robbie,
the old school way of doing things was not antiquated and ridiculous. It worked. I mean, we got this far in human history. You know what I mean? Like we're doing okay. You know, the whole society didn't collapse when and the COVID thing, especially in my employ. Like I'm over that. Like, well, COVID. Yeah, it sucked. We all lived through it. But it was 5 years ago, and yesterday. 5 years ago, like enough, enough. Get on with your life. And when Mike says they're entitled, they are, and it's like life doesn't owe you anything, you know. No. And it goes back to what Jimmy was saying earlier on about that persona of, if you were centralized talking about Hogan, like he was all about young kids, go put the work in. Like he pushed that message. I could see him standing with Mr. T right now in my brain. Remember that? Like he pushed that message of go exercise, eat, say your prayers, take your vitamins. Like it wasn't like, hey, go on Twitter and take a picture of yourself and you'll be famous. That's baloney. I would imagine that he would find that distasteful. But like he was about put your reps in, go to the gym, do the hard work. And that message is gone. I think that, at least I know with like almost my seniors, like it's almost like they goof on the kids that are putting in the work. Like they think they're fools for doing so, and they go on AI and they turn in an essay to me in AI, and I just take it, I throw it back, and I'm like, get this out of my face. This isn't you.
Oh, Robbie, I think about you teachers all the time because you have adolescents now raising adolescents, Mike. That's what you got. I mean, these just imagine the vests they all show up in the vests, Mike, all the finance bros in the vests. And they're all like a bunch of kids with a lot of money. And they go and spend it, and then they have families of their own. And then it's just, it is a colossal disaster.
Well,
Colossal
the
disaster.
thing is, there are no shortcuts in life, right? You can't get to the top of the mountain without like climbing it inch by inch, and people want to take like the elevator up, and that's and I think like the way we raised our kids, it wasn't like that, but I think it comes down to parenting in a sense. Like we were fortunate to have our mom and dad were.
Yeah.
Very involved, good people. They instilled the right values. They paid attention to us. It was, they taught us right and wrong. And I think as a consequence or as a result, we did the same with our kids. And
and you got great kids, by the way. I mean, your three kids are unbelievable.
We're going to keep them.
No, I mean, my kids are fantastic.
But you know what, guys? You know what you had that was really, and looking back on it, really helpful. Grandma was at your house when we were little.
Oh yeah.
You had another generation of wisdom. Your grandmother was there when
Yeah.
we were kids, and like that doesn't
Yeah.
that doesn't happen anymore.
She was.
Did we make her watch wrestling?
There's no doubt about it. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
I'm sure we did. I'll say this though, like Rob, you mentioned soap operas before. I used to watch soap operas with my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, come home from school from 3 or from 2 to 3. It was Young and the Restless, and then 3 to 4 was fucking Guiding Light. And I watched all of that shit.
I would go to your house and you weren't home. Like I'd sit in the kitchen with your grandmother and eat cookies and stuff. Like that was awesome. Like your grandmother would be like, "Come on in." And I'm like, "Oh hey, what's up, Grandma?" And I'm like, "Go and hang out." Like that whole familiar thing, and Jimmy, this is something you've spoken about many times. Like that breakdown occurred after us, where somewhere along the lines, young people think or have been taught or whatever, whether it was through that old people don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
And they forget that we've gone down the road already, and those before us, grandma, your mother and your father, and they've gone down the road, they've seen it, and they're trying to tell you, hey, look out, there's something over here, or don't do this. And now kids are like, whatever, you don't know what you're talking about. This little device knows everything. No, it doesn't. It can make cool things, and but it doesn't have any wisdom. It doesn't have any empathy. It doesn't have any, any of that work ethic that was on you guys,
And it's going to get worse, Robbie, because when you think about our grandparents or our great grandparents, I mean, they're fighting the Nazis. Okay. So the whole world is collapsing, and you have a whole generation of people who stopped it. Okay. And then the stories get told. The generations now, like, oh yeah, my grandfather, again, and not to bring it, but he was on Wall Street, and he hung out with a bunch of hookers and did it. There's no, what are they doing now? Like, what's the example? What's the learning that took place? I mean, our grandfather was at Normandy, for God's sakes, and the guy never talked about it. I didn't learn about it until, after we buried him, Mike. I mean, so we're losing that multi-generational set of examples. You're absolutely right, Rob. Everything's kind of getting like diluted now. Anyhow, look, we could go pretty far afield on this. I did a little bit of homework here, just to kind of put everything into perspective.
Again, I love the
where are we?
Red.
Yes. But where are we now? Like, okay, so the biggest wrestling event, arguably in the history of the sport, I'm just going to use the word sport, was WrestleMania 3, right, Mike? March 29th.
Hands down.
Pontiac Silverdome, which has since been demolished. But at the time, they had like almost 94,000 people at this event. And it was headlined by Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. So when you think about like Hulk's career, like you were asking, Mike, there's like different phases where he's the hero and then he's the heel during the NWO days when he went to work for Bischoff, if you remember that. And then he came back to the WWF. He had the whole thing. And maybe it was the first guy to do that. I mean, go to a different wrestling organization and become the biggest star there and then come back. I mean, you got to say. But I went through all the matches in WrestleMania 3 and just listen to the statistics here. First match, Billy Jack Haynes versus Hercules Hernandez. Hercules Hernandez, dead. Second match, Hillbilly Jim,
Oh,
Little
no way!
Beaver. Hillbilly Jim, Little Beaver, and the Haiti Kid. Those were 2 midgets. Versus King Kong Bundy, Lord Littlebrook, and Little Tokyo, Mike. Okay, King Kong Bundy gone, Lord Littlebrook gone, Little Tokyo, no mas, or whatever the Japanese equivalent
Your
is.
pronunciations are
First
just
of all,
amazing.
Could you try and imagine if you tried to push that today?
No way! Just Harley Race and Junkyard Dog, both gentlemen gone. Brutus Beefcake, Greg Valentine against the Rougeau brothers. One of the few matches that still has everybody living. Those guys are actually all still alive, amazingly. Roddy Piper, Adrian Adonis, the original They Them. Both guys gone, or people gone. Hart Foundation and Danny Davis versus British Bulldogs and Tito Santana. Jim the Anvil Neidhart is gone, Mike. The British Bulldogs, at least one of them is gone. Yeah. And Tito's still alive. Butch Reed versus Coco Beware. Butch Reed gone. Died during COVID. Ricky Steamboat versus Randy Macho Man Savage. Sadly, Macho Man Savage long since gone.
Is Ricky still alive?
Ricky's still alive, yes.
Wow.
Honky Tonk Man versus Jake the Snake Roberts. Both of those guys, as far as I know, are still alive. Volkov, Sheik versus the Killer Bees. The Sheik, as we know, is no longer with us. And then, of course, the capstone was Hogan versus Andre the Giant. Both those gentlemen, of course, are gone. So, what's there left to say? Sad, I think, Mike.
I think it would have been a lot quicker for you to just read a list of who's still alive than...
Yes, I would have gone through that list.
I like the matches. I see them in my head. Wow, yeah. Like those and we talk a lot about the big names, Andre and Macho Man and Hogan, but holy cow, like the Killer Bees, Coco Beware, like those guys, the flamboyance,
the Can-Am connection.
Yeah, man, like it was.
I think I missed them. Yeah,
it was a layer. I bet you could open up a tab and just look at 80s wrestlers who are dead, and you could probably just have that list and those names like King Kong, but George the Animal Steel eating the turnbuckles and like
stealing Miss Elizabeth.
Oh yes, remember he stole Miss Olivia. Oh my goodness, it was like the writing sessions on a Tuesday morning at the WWE must have been amazing.
She also passed away.
She did under nefarious circumstances, as you would say, Jim.
From what I understand, Macho Man was driving his Jeep with her, and he had a heart attack and crashed the Jeep. Like
he met a tree. Yeah,
that's
sadly.
what I heard. And that's awful. You know, like it is what it is. I mean, but if you go through that list of those characters, not only are their names and they're people. Let's be honest, they're people that had families and friends, and when they were done, they took a shower, put on their street clothes, and they were people. This was just their job. It was the thing that they did to get paid, and we got it. All right, but the characters were so over the top. I mean, just amazing, you know, like the Bushwhackers were just fantastic. Like, oh my goodness, come on, you know, like, and it was amazing, and to sit in your living room and watch it for an hour and be like, oh my god, like the matches were 4 minutes long, 7 minutes long, maybe, right? And then it was over, and the next one would come down, and they would have the announcement and all types of stuff. But to think about the production value of it, it's astounding.
Well, I mean, I think the characters, and it wasn't just limited to the wrestlers. Some of the most colorful characters were the managers.
Oh,
I mean, think of, I mean, you could not get away with it today, but you got Slick, who they dressed him up as a pimp.
Yes.
Right? You had Mr. Fuji. You had Paul Bearer, who was my Undertaker. Oh. You had Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. You know, Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Oh.
Jesse the Body Ventura, like those characters, those supporting characters were just so great, and I still don't even know what a manager does. Is that a real job? Are they
Mike,
managing someone's career? I don't know.
Mike, Mike, can you clarify something for me? Because I know you did this in 1988. Dad took us to the Hartford Civic Center.
Yeah.
To see a wrestling event.
Sure
and
did.
And my recollection of it, which I'm going to defer to you because your memory is far better than mine, but my recollection of it was that the main event at that 1988 wrestling event at the Hartford Civic Center was then World Heavyweight Champion Hulk Hogan versus Kamala, the Ugandan headhunter.
Incorrect.
Okay.
Incorrect.
And you disagree with that. Now, who?
It was Killer Khan.
What am I getting wrong?
It was Killer Khan, the guy who used to spew the green stuff out of his mouth as like a finishing move. It was Hulk Hogan versus Killer Khan. That was the big card that night.
I guess I was in.
I
was in the same ballpark.
So out of his element at the Civic Center in '88. Oh my god!
He loved every minute of it. That man loved every minute. He grew up watching like that, his form of wrestling. I mean, with the old guy, the old fat guys.
My dad
he loved all that stuff. Like don't. Yeah, he might have been a SVP at Amex, but deep down inside, he was the son of a cop from New Rochelle and loved that stuff.
Gosh,
who had the best finishing move?
Tracy Lords.
Oh, Mike.
Who's the other guy? Peter North. He had a great finishing move. That guy was like a fire hose.
Oh my god. Who had the best fatality? Like the guy's knocked out or whatever. Like it could have been the camel clutch, great finisher. Ooh, it could be Jake the Snake, where he put the snake on the guy and the guy would wake up and freak out, or Brutus when he cut his hair and held the mirror. Who had the best finisher?
I enjoy a good figure four leg lock because that, so Greg the Hammer Valentine for me, if you've ever been in one, I think Capiello did it on me once. That is extremely painful if you do it legitimately. Yeah. It is painful. Yeah. So I'm going to say figure four leg lock.
Robbie, I guess for me, I'm gonna go with Randy Macho Man Savage's elbow off the top rope. Yeah, I mean, it was dynamic, and I really enjoyed that.
That's not bad.
And if that were done like legit, right? Your like larynx is gone.
Oh, you're dead.
You're dead. You're dead. Your Adam's apple is destroyed.
Well, he took a bell, Mike. He took a bell and he.
Oh my god! Yeah,
he hit Steamboat with the bell.
It would pop your head off like a daisy. That would be the end of it, man.
It's like a dandelion.
Yeah, it's just like that's it. Okay, he's done. Like your head would roll into the third row of the stands, man. I mean, if they did those things correctly, I mean.
But and I know the ring was like bouncy, but remember when like Dynamite Kid or the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, he was so strong he would put guys on his shoulder, like 250-pound men on his shoulder, like a slab of beef, and he would run across the ring, jump up in the air, and slam them down. It's a stunt.
It hurts just talking about it. I'd be paralyzed. Oh my god!
I know. What about you, Robbie? What do you got?
Oh, I was. It's got to be Snuka. It's off that top rope with the head to the head, but like, bam! Like. First of all, both your heads would shatter like eggs. Secondly, like it was just he was. Oh, you watch some of that footage, man. He's 12 feet in the air. I mean, and you knew it was coming, and you watch it like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. And he just came down on the boom, and just like, holy cow, man!
He did that once, Robbie. Like they would have the steel cage match where the fence would go higher than like the ring posts and stuff. Yeah. He one time climbed up on top of the steel cage. So now he's like 7 or 8 feet higher than the ring, and he did the splash.
These guys are fearless, man.
Well, I don't know what kind of courage that took. I mean, there was some chemicals, Mike, but he jumped from like a 10-story building.
When you heard the metal chair hit those guys, those people heard it on the top row of Nassau Coliseum. Like, it was bam, and I don't care how fake you think it is, that hurts, man. Holy smokes.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree.
How do you feel
Well,
the
Mike,
next day?
awful. The way you feel the next day is you're drinking Miller Lights and throwing down Vicodin. That's what Hogan would say. Like, he'd have to have Miller Lights and pain pills and stuff. It was just awful.
Oh.
You know, it was terrible. I mean, I guess maybe that's one thing that I hope that they don't emulate these days, but who knows? Well, Mike, are we getting too long here? I don't want to go through your. Okay.
No, I think we're at a good time here, and I just to and on a higher note, let's say, if Hogan, let's imagine that his acting career really did take off, and he became, the Brando of his time. Where would you cast him in? What movie would you cast him in, where you could really see him adding some value? So have a little fun with this one.
Like the list, different than the list I sent you guys.
Or anything on that list I think works, Rob. Like, where, where could you could Hogan deliver the line, "I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse, brother," and in the context of a movie like The Godfather, right? Could he have been Luca Brasi? Could he have been Luca Brasi in The Godfather? Like, where could we put Hogan, into celluloid history?
Okay, so are we going? So if we were to talk seriously, like, all right, he's a legitimate. I could see him being typecast as a kind of a rough detective. Like almost like not like a Dirty Harry, but like a guy who's just like this rough detective in cop movies, Lethal Weapons, I don't know, whatever. But if we're goofing, I think him trying to be a sensitive actor, like a Mrs. Doubtfire or something like that. I don't know, like that would be something where you would just laugh about it. But I think if his career took off, he'd be a tough guy. He'd have to be a tough guy role,
Yeah, because I think that the hard thing with him is, he had such a tight persona in wrestling. Seeing him as anything but that is hard, right? I would like to see him stretch and take over Jimmy Garner's role in The Notebook. If he could do something like that,
Hey, Garner?
No, what's his Ryan Gosling, is that?
Ryan Gosling played the young version, but James Garner was the old man, like him as an old man.
Okay.
Towards the end. I mean,
I think he's we are Marshall. You can make him an assistant football coach and, help the kids, and, somebody needs encouragement. And, he just his acting was a little flat. I mean, he wasn't, Robbie made this point one time. When he would go into a role, it would be Hogan playing the role instead of Terry Bollea playing the role. Like, Dwayne Johnson does not play The Rock. Yeah. On Ballers, he plays the sports agent, and he does a really good job.
He's good at it.
He's really quite good. So Hulk was a little bit limited, but could there have been a role? Yeah, I think probably there could have been.
I think what The Rock did right, though, was he eased into it. Like, his first role on screen was as like the Sun King or something in one of those mummy movies.
Oh, he was the Scorpion King.
The Scorpion King.
Scorpion King, very good.
Then he got a movie after that. But his first entry was tiny, like it was a small role, and then he got the bigger roles after. He eased into it, and I think we were just able to accept him more as an actor because of that. Like, and the roles weren't created around him as a character necessarily.
The thing that those two guys did really well and I know that they didn't do it by themselves, is they marketed themselves. They sold the name The Rock and Hogan and the Hulk. I mean,
Yeah.
they weren't. They just knew how to sell it. How to become a brand. They became a brand, and so here's my question, my final salvo, and I've been struggling with it this morning, thinking about this before we sat down. And I'm going to say it this way, and you take it how you take it. I'm glad he died the way he died. Could you have seen a 92-year-old Hulk Hogan withered in a wheelchair, trying to do an interview, and shrunken and small? Could you see that and not just go, oh my God, what happened? Like, when I'm not glad that he's gone, but I'm glad that I got that snapshot in my mind of him being huge and being big and rambunctious versus a withered version of my hero. And I'm not articulating it correctly, but like, I couldn't see him. Like, I don't want to go on the internet and have a leaked coroner's photo of him. I don't want to see that.
Right.
I don't want that. I want to see him the way I see, and now AI's got him in heaven and shaking hands. That makes me smile, right? I'm like, good for you, bro.
Yeah.
You lived a giant life, and I don't think someone like that can wither on the vine. I just don't see that.
Yeah, and also nice to know that he didn't die in poverty. He didn't die in the back of a high school gym signing headshots, for $20 a pop.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
There.
I mean, he was still doing things. He was running the restaurant. He was doing the karaoke. He was selling the merchandise, and he just launched a beer brand. I mean, however successful or not that would have been, who knows? But he was still, a presence. He was still relevant, and he wasn't diminished. Now, I agree with you, Robbie, because that's how you want to remember him. You don't want to remember him as a frail person. And I will say, he's not in the pain that he was. I mean, obviously he was living every day in excruciating pain. He just had a neck surgery. He had 25 surgeries, from what I understand. And, anytime they're cutting into your back or your neck, it never turns out well. It never does. So, I'm sorry for his family, obviously. But yeah, to your point, Robbie, selfishly, I'm glad that we don't have to have that image of him. He was still strong. Even at 71, he was not what he was, but he was still physically strong and demonstrative,
The clip where that little boy goes into his merch shop is my favorite thing, man. It is my favorite. And that's who he was. That's how I'm going to remember him. I'm going to remember him slamming Andre, and I'm going to remember that clip with that little boy. And that right there showed how much of an impact, multi-generational impact, Hogan had on people.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that's a good one to end on. So, Rob and Jim, thanks so much for joining this very special edition of Celluloid Zeroes.
Gentlemen, I love you both. I miss you, and thank you so much for inviting me to this.